Welcome to Unveiling the Truth. We're your host, Nefer.
And Nelly. And today, Nefer is going to be presenting us with the 13 facts of Our Lady of Fatima.
Yes, and so without further ado, let's go. Unveil the truth.
Alright, so before we get started, just like we start off everything that is good and holy, Nefer is going to lead us in this Fatima prayer.
Yes, so there's multiple prayers at Fatima, but this is one of them. Mm-hmm. And I know it in Spanish, so we're going to have to read it off in English. Bear with me.
And you guys can go ahead and pray along with us if you know it.
Yes.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. My God, I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love you. I ask for pardon for those who do not believe, do not adore, do not hope, and do not love you. My God, I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love you. I ask pardon for those who do not believe, do not adore, do not hope, and do not love you. My God, I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love you. I ask pardon for those who do not believe, do not adore, do not hope, and do not love you. Amen.
In the name of the Father,
and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, Nefer.
Thank you for joining along.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, so since it is the month of May is the month of Our Lady, or the month of the Virgin Mary, and Our Lady of Fatima, the apparitions actually started May 13th, and that's something we'll talk about a little bit. We decided to do 13 facts about Our Lady of Fatima, since 13 is a huge day for the Fatima apparitions. And yeah, so.
Nice. And there's a lot of, and can you explain a little bit what Fatima is?
Right, so Our Lady of Fatima, or the Fatima apparitions, these were Marian apparitions to 3 shepherd boys in Portugal, or in the small town of Fatima, which is part of the bigger, I guess you could call it like state or province of Lisbon, which is in Portugal. These apparitions occurred between 1917, the Marian apparitions. Again, I'll dive a little bit deeper into that. And this is probably one of the biggest, most recent Marian apparitions that we have, since it was in the 20th century, and there's been many since then, but this is one of the most recognized. And this is the one where she's dressed in white,
right?
The 3 little shepherd kids. And she had several secrets and showed the kids several messages, which we'll touch on a couple of them right now. And yeah, so let's get started. So the first one, try to break that off. Our Lady of Fatima is actually Our Lady of the Rosary. So that's the official title that is for Our Lady of Fatima. So we say Our Lady of Fatima to distinguish that we're talking about the Fatima apparitions, but when she came to the kids in October, or her final apparition to the kids, final public apparition to the kids, that's when she said, I am Our Lady of the Rosary. And so when we talk about Our Lady of Fatima, we're actually talking about Our Lady of the Rosary.
Gotcha.
And so she usually comes in with different titles, kind of like in Lourdes, she comes in as the Immaculate Conception. And I think Our Lady of the Rosary has been used several times as well in different apparitions. But she did invoke this title, and especially because of the emphasis on pray the rosary every day.
Right, yeah.
Pray the rosary every day. Like Dr. Taylor Marshall says,
yeah.
Pray the rosary every day, you're not on the team.
Or you're not on the team, yeah.
So that's the number 1 fact.
Is that she's a big representative of the rosary.
Yeah, big proponent of the rosary.
Yeah.
The second fact is that the Fatima apparitions actually did not start with Our Lady. They started with the Angel of Peace.
Right. Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And so this one I actually didn't know until I searched it up. But so the first 3 apparitions of the Angel of Peace were in 1915 to a group of 4 girls.
Oh, wow.
And one of those girls was Lucia dos Santos, which Lucia was the oldest of the visionaries, and I'll get into that a little bit. And then in 1916, he came another 3 times to all 3 shepherd kids, so Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta. He came to them kind of to prepare them for the Marian apparitions. And then we have the Marian apparitions in 1917. And so when we talk about the Fatima apparitions, we tend to just think about Our Lady of Fatima showing up. Yeah. But it's also the angel and the preparation, that these kids were prepared by the angel beforehand. Yeah. So that's the second fact. The third fact is that since we are talking about 1917 and the Marian apparitions, is that the apparitions range from May to October on the 13th of each month.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is why 13 is a huge number when it comes to the Fatima apparitions. 13 is like, we have the May 13th celebration, which is like the feast of Our Lady of Fatima. And then October 13th was also when a huge miracle happened, and we'll go into that as well. So yeah, 13th is very important because it was the 13th of each month. And it was from May to October. So that's May, June, July, August, September, October. That was six apparitions.
And you know why the 13 is so important is because I heard that it could be presented as, there's the 12 apostles and then Mary also followed. So Mary's the 13th.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. I didn't know that. But that's smart. That makes sense. And so ranging from, since we're talking about May 13th and October, this is fact number 4. There's 2 celebrations regarding Our Lady of Fatima because of this. The first one is May 13th. Which is the day it started, and that's why that kind of adds into May being the month of Mary. And then we have October 13th, which was the final day and the day that there was a huge miracle. And so because of October 13th and the Battle of Lepanto, which is celebrated on October 7th, that makes October the month of the Rosary.
Right,
so, so May is the month of Mary, but October is the month of the Rosary.
Okay, because a lot of people normally say that May is the month of the Rosary.
Yeah.
Because it is the month of Mary, so that makes sense.
Yeah, like I remember when I was in youth group, I was kind of debating with the youth group leader where he was like, no, May, like you do May crowning, you do the school-wide Rosary in May. And I'm like, well, in my school, we always did it in October. Oh, because October is the month of the Rosary. Like, we did May crowning in May, but we did the school-wide Rosary in October. He was like, no, the Rosary is in May. And I'm like, no, it's in October. Like, I remember we were using pumpkins. Like, I remember this. I have pictures. Like, that's awesome. But anyway, so yeah, that's something interesting that I think both Our Lady of Fatima ties into both Marian months, where it's just like, the month of Mary in May because of the 13 de Mayo, May 13th, and then we also have October, the month of the Rosary, and that ties into October 13th being the final public apparition. And so since we are on the topic of October 13th, fact number 5 actually talks about the apparitions that they saw on October 13th, which was the day of the big miracle, and we'll go into that in the next fact. But on top of seeing Our Lady of the Rosary, Our Lady of Fatima come again, there were 5 more apparitions that the kids saw in the sky. The first one is the Mysteries of the Rosary, so it was like a tabloid of the joyful, sorrowful, and glorious mysteries. The second one was the Holy Family. The third one was Saint Joseph with the child Jesus, and Saint Joseph blessed the crowd 3 times.
Okay.
And then we had Our Lady of Sorrows with the suffering Jesus, and he also blessed the crowd, Jesus. And then the 5th one was Our Lady of Mount Carmel with baby Jesus. So what's really cool about this last day, this miracle on October 13th, is that there's also showing the emphases on lots of different other devotions. Right. So we have Our Lady of the Rosary, obviously we have the Mysteries of the Rosary, but we also show the importance of Saint Joseph because we see the Holy Family, and then we see Saint Joseph. And then we see Our Lady of Sorrows, which we've also heard in recent years that we need to have growing devotion to Our Lady of Sorrows. And then Our Lady of Mount Carmel, which is emphasizing the importance of the scapular.
Right. Oh, so it's all based around Mary.
Yeah. And also, what's cool is that you also show the importance of the other devotions within this devotion, like the continuity of that.
Yeah.
Kind of like when you watch a movie and then it's like a crossover and you're like, I know who that person is. And it's like, it's that kind of like same
that's cool
connection. It's really cool. And so fact number 6 is that on October 13th, the sun danced.
Right.
Which
is like the miracle that made Fatima.
Yeah, it was like the big thing that was going to make people believe. So while the kids were like, oh, look, Our Lady of Sorrows and Our Lady of Mount Carmel, everyone was freaking out because the sun was like doing backflips in the air.
Right, literally. And so many people like dropped to their knees and started converting, even hardened people, because like imagine just seeing the sun start moving around and it looks like it's coming at you and you're like, oh.
Yeah, so they say that the sun started just spinning quickly and like moving quickly and like dancing and changing colors. And that there were lots of miracles amongst the crowd. And the crowd consisted of around 70,000 people.
Wow.
And so there were people who were being healed, and people who were converting in the moment, kind of like what you said. And so there were like around or over 70,000 witnesses of this huge miracle that happened on October 13th. So that's also why, we do celebrate Our Lady of Fatima on May 13th, but October 13th is also
important
a big day, for the same apparitions. And it's cool, it kind of ranges that part of the year. Fact number 7 is that the visionaries themselves were all 10 and under. So these were tiny children. They were little babies, you know? Yeah. Lucia was 10 years old, Francisco was 9, and Jacinta was 7. And they were related to each other. So
they were cousins, right?
Yeah, so Francisco and Jacinta were siblings, and then Lucia was their older cousin. Although she was the youngest of like 7 or something.
Right, yeah.
So that's cool. They were all like family. They were all relatives and stuff, and they were all really close.
And that shows that little kids can do big things.
Exactly.
Well, and I think a lot of times Mary appears to the younger kids because they are innocent and they will understand. Whereas if they appear to adult will be like, oh, I was just drunk, you know, it didn't actually happen. They'll be convinced, but like innocent kids knows the truth.
Innocent kids and humble people, because that's when you also talk about Juan Diego. He was just like,
that's true.
A poor, humble, like indigenous person, especially when there was a lot of stuff going on with like the racism and the conquest and everything. Where they believed that the Indians couldn't believe, and it was actually through that Mary converted a whole nation. So anyways, fact number 8 is that with the angel, they received their first communion before the apparition of Mary. So kind of to add on, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't know the angel gave them the first communion.
Yeah, the angel gave them the first communion. So the angel appeared.
Imagine we get our first communion from a priest, they get their first communion from an angel.
I know, yeah. And that was what kind of strikes me about that is that was part of the preparation to see Mary, is that they had to receive the first communion there with the angel.
That's interesting, because God first, then Mary.
Yeah, and so the angel on the third apparition. So the first apparition, I think the angel told them to pray. The second time they were playing, and then the angel was like, "Bro, I told you how to pray." Wow. And then the third time was when the angel actually came and gave the host to Lucia and gave the chalice from the blood of Christ to Francisco and Jacinta.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
And then the following year was when the Marian apparition started.
That's cool.
So that was really cool. Just kind of how like. That was part of the preparation, but also how they received the first communion from an angel.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so
obviously Mary didn't just appear to them. There was like a lot of preparation beforehand.
Which honestly, I don't know how much. I've heard about that happening kind of like in Garavandan and stuff, but it's not something so formalized like this. Like
this is like very planned out and thought.
Yeah, it's very, very methodical. Like there was preparations for Lucia specifically 2 years prior, whereas in other apparitions it kind of just happens. You know. So that kind of strikes me as being very important. Fact number 9. In August, and so when they were supposed to be for like the August apparitions, so like a little backstory before I go into this one. The kids were like, we're not going to say anything. But then Jacinta told her mom. As soon as it happened. And so,
which I would too. I'm so sorry. People are just like, don't say anything. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to tell my mom.
Yeah, well... I don't know how good that went, but
I don't know how good that went.
I don't know how well that went. I'm not saying lie to your parents, but in this case...
Yeah. In this case, it did not help.
It did not help.
Because that's what we're talking about, with, just like we were talking about earlier, the innocent kids take it better than adults who think they know better.
Yeah, and so the adults were like, you guys are crazy, you guys are lying, you guys are sinning, like, why would the Virgin Mary come to you, and blah, blah, blah. And so there was a lot of... Because Jacinta did tell... her mom, who then told Lucia's mom, and then the families were like, oh, y'all crazy, and then other people started finding out till it got to the ears of the government.
Okay.
And I think it wasn't the president, I think it was the mayor of Fatima
or governor or something.
Yeah. Well, I think specifically like the authority in Fatima. I think it was the mayor.
Yeah, okay.
He was a Catholic turned Freemason. Oh, and so he was... So during this time, because this was during World War I, this was a time when they were trying to focus more on reasoning and thought instead of like faith, and so that was like what the war was fighting for and stuff like that, like the ideals and stuff. And so he was like, no, you guys are just being superstitious if you're religious. And so now to hear that the whole town has been captivated by these stories of these 3 little kids who say that they saw Mary, he was like, like y'all messing with my government, y'all messing with the ideals that we're trying to fight for in the middle of a huge war. So what happened is that in August, the kids were actually threatened with being thrown into a cauldron of hot oil unless they said that they were lying about the apparitions. So like it even got to the ears of politics, and the mayor was trying to convince them to say that they were lying all along, and they were like, no, we're not going to lie. And they were like, well, if you don't do what we tell you, we're going to throw you into a cauldron of like boiling oil. Like he threatened little children. And then I think Francisco's reaction was like, okay, well then we'll die and we'll be martyrs and we'll go to heaven. Like, no problem.
Honestly,
I was like, what? I wouldn't say that.
Really? You wouldn't?
Well, I don't think I could though.
Oh, that's true.
Like
because we all talk about martyrs, and then when you're actually faced with it,
it's like no. Even in the smallest of things, like I mess
true.
up and I should defend the faith, and sometimes I feel like I don't.
Oh yeah.
Because of my frailty, you know. And to think that these little kids were being so strong about it, they were like, Francisco was like, "Yay, we'll go to heaven, like kill me."
Yeah, go ahead, make our day.
Yeah, exactly. Like man. Anyways, I just thought that was interesting because they were being like to the degree to which it got. That the kids were being threatened to be thrown in hot oil. Like, that's terrifying. Anyways, fact number 10. So, Francisco and Jacinta actually died young. And Lucia became a nun and continued to see Our Lady.
And I remember she's upset about that because she wanted to die and go to heaven. But God made her stay on earth for like, you know, however long many years.
She died until 2005.
Yeah, so that was recent. So she had to stay on this earth for like 50, 60 more years. And she was upset about that because she wanted to be like her cousins and go to heaven.
Yeah, well, because in the first apparition, Lucia asked Mary if they're going to go to heaven. And Mary says that they were all going to go to heaven, but Francisco needed to pray more rosaries. And so they died young, and they died out of illness too. Like, they also had their fair share of suffering. Wow. And they died out of illness, but when I think Jacinta was like 10, and Francisco, I think they were about 10 years old when they both died. But Francisco died first, and then Jacinta died afterwards.
I felt bad for that mom, though.
Yeah, no, honestly, to have lost them. And then Lucia to kind of have to keep going without her cousins who were there and knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And I think Jacinta was even like, you know, Lucia, like, you have to be strong.
Right,
Because she had to stay on earth and endure so much more. And she continued to see Our Lady. And I think even Jesus. There was private revelations that we focus more on the 1917 apparitions. That was
clarified by the church.
Yeah, but they also continued to see Our Lady even before the kids died, and Lucia as a nun too. And fun fact, since we're talking about their death, Jacinta's body was removed from one cemetery to another after 15 years, and her body was found to be incorrupt. And so right now, Francisco and Jacinta have already been canonized, and Lucia right now is still servant of God.
Okay.
Yeah, she's still servant of God because she died very recently. So yeah, that's interesting. So fact number 11 is just a little bit on what the apparitions talked about. The apparitions actually weren't warned about World War II. And they showed the kids hell.
Yeah, I remember that. They showed them heaven and hell.
They showed them heaven and hell. And so imagine being little kids and seeing what hell was like.
I know, it terrified them.
And Our Lady also saying that if people didn't convert and they didn't change, there was going to be an even bigger war than there was at the time. So think about it. This was 1917. World War I lasted between 1914 to 1918. So the war ended quite quickly after the apparitions, but then came World War II in 1939. And so it was an even bigger and greater war than was World War I. And she warned them, and she said if people don't change their ways, there's going to be an even bigger war. And she was talking about World War II. So she warned these kids about World War II. And I think when I was reading yesterday, it said that Lucia saw some flashing lights or some weird lights, and Our Lady had told Lucia that would be the warning sign.
Oh wow.
And so she was like, oh shoot, the war's coming. Because she saw the lights.
Yeah, shoot.
And so she knew that that's what it was for. And so yeah, that was just to show the kind of degree, we kind of think, oh, Mary came so sweet and stuff, but which obviously yes, she's sweet, she's Our Lady, but she comes with warnings. And she comes because she wants us to convert and she wants to avoid these huge tragedies. What ended up happening, over 6 million Jews were killed. So fact number 12, Our Lady asked for the consecration of Russia and the first 5 Saturdays devotion. And so I have a quote on this one that I got from the website. And she told Lucia, the kids, to prevent this, I come to ask the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart and the communion of reparation on the first Saturdays. If they listen to my request, Russia will be converted and there will be peace. If not, she will scatter her errors through the world, provoking wars and persecutions of the church.
Wow.
And you see what's going on today.
Well, wasn't Russia consecrated though?
So what happened
was it just got consecrated by the Pope, right?
By Pope Francis?
Yeah, Pope Francis.
Well, yeah, but she was talking about doing this before World War II.
Oh, shoot, okay.
And so what happened was that she was saying that all the bishops in Union needed to consecrate the Immaculate Heart of Mary to Russia. But I think who was it? The Bishop of Russia, or I don't know who did it, but one of them did do the consecration, or if it was the Pope. But it wasn't complete because it wasn't in union with all the bishops.
Okay.
And so it said Jesus is pleased with this and the war will end soon. But, you know, it didn't stop the war from coming because they didn't do it from the beginning.
But from the beginning, right, yeah.
And also, like, the continuation of the first 5 Saturdays. But even when you see, like, when you read this, it's when you see what's going on right now with the war in Russia and Ukraine.
It blinds up, yeah.
You know, if not, she will scatter her errors through the world, provoking wars and persecutions of the church. And that's literally what we're living through today.
Definitely.
So that's just, wow. To kind of show just like what she was asking for beforehand.
Yeah.
But also how we're seeing it today.
Oh, yeah.
It's just crazy. And fact number 13, I thought we'd end with this one because this one was kind of cool. But, and I don't know how many people know about this one, but Pope John Paul II, if any of you guys know, Pope John Paul II survived an assassination attempt when this guy was being hired to kill him, and so there was a procession going on, and this guy shot him, and it barely missed his heart. And so Pope John Paul II credited Our Lady of Fatima with having saved his life.
Well, and then that same bullet that he was shot with, he was able to fit in her crown, and it fit perfectly. So.
Yeah, in the shrine in Fatima, Portugal. It's like in a little like museum chapel / thing off the side. So like the chapel or the shrine where they actually do the masses and stuff is like over here, and then it's like the big lot, and it's like over here inside.
Nice.
So yeah, that's you actually finished it off. That he placed the bullet in her crown.
Oh yeah,
and it's still there.
So supposedly the way it was shot, it should have killed him. But something guided it.
Yeah, but it like deviated his horse or something. I think it was on May 13th or on October 13th
that would be
or something.
Crazy, yeah. Wow.
I think that's the reason why he credited it with it being her that saved him. Assassination attempt. Oh, we clicked high school. Sorry, no. Let's see what day it was. I think it was. Oh yeah, 13th May 1981.
That's crazy.
So that's why he says that it was Our Lady of Fatima that saved him.
That's cool. That's awesome. Wow, that was just the other day, huh? 2 days ago.
Yeah, that was just the other day.
That's crazy.
So yeah, those are 13 facts on Our Lady of Fatima, who was celebrated on 13th of May and October.
Yep.
So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned a lot. And yeah, this was really interesting to look at. There's a lot of
people just think, oh, the apparitions of Mary, she just came and talked to kids. It's like, no, there's a lot of stuff behind it. There's a lot of stuff that happened after.
And before and after too.
Yeah.
It's so much, but I wanted to keep it to 13 because that is the number of the apparitions and stuff. So yeah, hope.
And she gave a lot of like promises and stuff in the apparition. She gave a lot of promises and warnings and stuff like that, which we should go over one of these days exactly what she said. Yeah. Some of it's pretty bone chilling. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, no, a lot of it is intense.
Yeah.
But
these are just facts about the apparition, so. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you enjoy.
Yes, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click on the link tree down below for more content like this.
Yep, and we're praying for you. God bless you and keep your fire burning.
Bye.